Hi, APC.
Hello, TL. Good dag.
Good evening. Okay, so we are ready for DigiSeminar.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another DigiSeminar hosted by the Philippines Kaya Samfuni Norte, FHS, or the Filipino Helping Society. I'm Tia Lorraine, an FHS volunteer under Team Newbie in Norway, and with me is APC Roxanne, my co-volunteer and co-host for today.
Thank you, TL Lorraine. So, for those who are joining us for the first time, FHS is a non-profit organization that provides information drives and awareness campaigns to help migrants navigate life in Norway. We are a community of volunteers dedicated to informing, assisting, and supporting fellow immigrants. Today's topic: marriage and divorce in Norway. It's crucial because it affects the fundamental unit of the society, which is family. We aim to provide guidance in taking steps in this journey. So, tonight we'll discuss legal requirements and procedure for marriage, types of ceremonies recognized here in Norway, marriage settlements and financial aspects, divorce procedures based on nationality and residency, and lastly, financial and legal consequences of divorce.
Yes, and before we begin, let's clarify some important points. FHS is not affiliated with NAV, UDE, or Norwegian legal agencies. However, all the information we provide today comes from official sources such as Love Data, Skatteetaten, UDE, Stats for Valteren, and other reputable government websites and legal resources. Some rules may vary depending on personal circumstances, such as your nationality and residency status. So we always recommend consulting professionals for legal advice. Also, since today's topic is sensitive, we want to remind everyone that this is a safe space for learning. If you need further assistance, we are happy to share resources and organizations that can help you. As always, we encourage interaction. Please write your questions and comments below, and we'll address as many as we can after our presentation. So, APC Roxanne, let's dive right into our topic for this evening, and I believe we will start with the legal framework for getting married in Norway.
Thank you, TL Lorraine. Yes, in Norway, marriage is legally binding contract, which means that there are initial conditions the couple must meet before getting married, which states that tailoring they must be individuals that is at least 18 years of age. Both must provide a personal declaration or declaring for confirming that they meet all the legal conditions to marry. And next is they must have witness to confirm that there are no legal obstacle to the marriage. Also, a certificate of no impediment to marriage or provisates that must be issued by the Skatteetaten or the Norwegian Tax Administration. And lastly, if one or both partners were previously married, TL Lorraine, they must to provide a divorce or death certificate for the previous spouses. So, if they met all the requirements, Skatteetaten will review all the documents that they submitted, and they will, once they approve, they will going to provide or issue provisates, which is only valid for 4 months. So they have to take note of that. So without this document, the wedding cannot be proceeded. Now, while these are the basic conditions, there are specific points that we need to take note depending also with nationality and also with the residency status. So, Tia Lorraine, if both partners are Norwegian citizen, they just simply need to submit provisates or certificate of no impediment through skatetaten. And lastly, they can now choose between which ceremony they would like to have, whether it's a civil, religious, or humanist wedding, which later on we will discuss. So if one or both partners are EU or EEA citizen TL Lorraine, no special resident permit is required. But at least one partner must have a valid Norwegian resident registration. And marriage will be recognized across EU and EEA countries. And lastly, if one or both partners are non-EU or EEA citizen, this will be applicable for us Filipino as well who wants to be married here. The non-EU or EEA partner must have a valid resident permit before the marriage. Additional documents may be required also, such as single status certificate from the home country. Tia Lorraine, I believe this is an equivalent to Sanumar certificate from the Philippines. And also, if applying for a fiancé visa or for permit, the wedding must be take place 6 months of arrival. And lastly, if the couple was married abroad, they must to register their marriage with Skatetaten for it to be legally recognized here in Norway. So TL, so far, my thoughts will be planning ahead is a critical, especially for us non-EU and EEA citizen who may have additional immigration concerns. So once you meet all those requirements, you can now choose 3 legally recognized types of marriages ceremonies in Norway. So are you ready, TL, to let's get to them?
Um, Sorry for that. Yes, really very informative so far, APC Roxanne. But here's an important question. Can all couples choose any of these ceremonies, or are there any restrictions based on the nationality?
Yes, of course. Actually, there are 3 types of marriage ceremonies that they can choose. So first is, and the most common one is the civil marriage or Ponorsborgerlig vielse. This is a non-religious ceremony. So this conducted by the municipal registrar or judge and typically held at City Hall or Rue Jose, but some municipalities allow private venues. And of course, the the language is in Norwegian, but if they need to have an interpreter, they can arrange if needed. And this is also what I said earlier. This is the most common option for the international couples since it does follows standard legal process. Okay. The next type of marriage ceremonies here in Norway, TL, is the religious marriage or kirkelig vielse. This is conducted by the approved organizations such as the Church of Norway or the Norsk Kirke, Catholic Church, Islamic or other registered faith groups. The requirements is just to comply with the specific religious institution prerequisites such as baptism or church membership or others. And the institution must be registered in Norway so that the marriage will be legally valid also. So we have to take note of that. And the last type of marriage here in Norway is the humanist marriage or the humanistic vielse. This is a type of secular ceremony. So this conducted by the Norwegian Humanist Association or Human Etis Forbund. This is recognized legally equivalent to the first two that we mentioned earlier, the civil marriage and religious marriage. So the difference from this one is just um, it allows the couple to have their wedding ceremony more personalized and customized. So um, that's the three types of marriage ceremonies that we have here in Norway.
Okay, so meaning that the humanist marriage is inclusive, or it's personally tailored for
Mhm.
couples or for those people who are important in their lives. If
Yes, of
I, yeah,
That
okay.
is correct, TL Lorraine. So if you want to have a personal touch of your wedding ceremony, that is once in a lifetime, you can go for humanistic approach.
So
Which
yeah, sorry for that. So I believe that I think humanist in our country is like same as the non-denominational marriage, and for the civil ceremony is actually based on the law of every land when
Mhm.
you get married, for example, and
Yeah,
for the religious ceremony would be based on the faith or
yeah,
interfaith of the couple. Okay,
yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah, yes. And also, TL, civil marriage is also available to all couples here, regardless of nationality. Please take note of that. Um, and however, religious and humanist marriages have their own rules that we need to follow also. Please um, bear in mind. So, in religious marriages, some religious groups do not allow interfaith marriages. So foreign spouses may need special approval to convert to the faith before marrying. So we have that same um, beliefs in faith also. And while the humanist marriages are recognized in Norway, some countries do not accept it as a legally valid. So if a spouse from another country does not recognize secular marriages, they may need to have at least the civil wedding first.
Okay, so
Mhm.
if you're an international couple, it's also a good idea to check whether your home country will recognize your Norwegian wedding then.
That
So,
exact. Mhm.
since it's a pretty straightforward, it's also somewhat the same in our country. And but I
Mhm.
have a question, APC. How
Mhm.
about in the case of previously married individuals?
That's it. That is a good question. So, um, for those individuals who have been previously married, the process can take time and depends on whether were you married here in Norway or abroad. So, like for an example, Tia Lorraine, if you were previously married in Norway, you must to provide a finalized divorce certificate from Skattetat, starts vort Ballingen. Or if your spouse passed away, you need a death certificate issued by the Norwegian authorities. And if you were previously married abroad, if in case you were previously married somewhere here around the globe, your foreign divorce decree must be recognized here in Norway first. And if the divorce took place outside the UE or EEA country, it must be validated by Statsbottingen. And if you were previously married to a Norwegian citizen, additional documentation may also be required. So you have to also check on that.
Okay.
And also, there will be a few restrictions and special consideration also to be considered, like marriages between close relatives. So, like siblings, half siblings, and direct relatives are prohibited here. A forced marriage, of course, is illegal. And both parties must enter it willingly because it's a lifelong engagement. And for same-sex couples and foreigners have equal rights to marry here in Norway. But Humanists and Church of Norway recognize same-sex marriage, but some other religious groups do not perform them. So, however, non-Norwegians should check how their home country recognizes marriages and whether they have additional legal steps that are required, particularly regarding their family immigration permits. So, yeah. So, same-sex marriage is allowed here for those who are asking.
Now I wonder, how much does it cost for marriage in Norway?
Yeah, of course, we have to also know that if you are planning to um, get married here in a beautiful country. But now that we've covered the framework and the different types of marriage ceremonies in Norway, let's talk about the practical aspects of getting married. Yep, including the on how you will going to book your wedding, of course, the cost and the regulation of the wedding proceedings. So this is always the first time for you to consider, or always a very main concern of the couples is how can you set the budget and the cost of getting married here. So one great thing here about being in Norway is that civil marriages are free. While religious and humanist ceremonies may have associated costs as well. So you have to also take note of that. So, for civil ceremonies, venues are often free for residents in the municipality, except for private venues, of course, which is usually depends on the location. For religious ceremony type, some churches may charge fees, but it really varies on the institution. So you have to check on the institution that you've chosen so far. And for the humanist ceremonies, fees typically ranges from, are you ready, TL?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's 4,000 to 6,000 Norwegian kroner. And it will also depend on the location and also the services included.
it's a bit costly also.
Yeah, it is actually, but good thing we have this civil ceremony, which we can have it for free. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
So
thing.
yeah, it is actually. So, if you're considering also a destination wedding, if you're dreaming for a destination wedding here, such as getting married in the fjord or mountain lunch or historical site, of course you may do that, but you need to pay for the permits and also the official travel expenses. You have to carry that.
I think with that kind of thing, destination wedding, you need to really have a very big budget for that.
Yes, it is actually quite expensive, but if it's for your 1 day celebration and once in a lifetime, why not if you have the budget, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is actually. So with regards to the um booking the ceremony, so what usually the requirements? So um you need just to contact the municipality or the comuna, which we're going to schedule your civil ceremony, whether if it's civil ceremony. So some of the municipality allows the wedding at the private venues, such as hotel, parks, and but this may require additional approval as well or permits. And for ceremony during religious rite, you have to arrange it directly to the chosen institution if it's for religious rite. Some may require premarital counseling and additional documentation. Also, if one spouse is not part of the religious faith, approval may be needed from the religious authority. And also, if it's for humanistic approach or humanistic ceremony, you have to coordinate with the Norwegian Humanist Association. Bookings must be made through their regional offices, so you have to check on that as well. And because some of municipal offices and religious institutions have a waiting list, TL Lorraine, it is very recommended that your wedding what must be booked well in advance, especially during the peak season, which is summer. So if you're planning to be married in June.
So if we're talking about weddings here in Norway, so we think
Mm-hmm.
that the weddings or the peak season for weddings in Norway is in June or July till August, I think.
Yeah,
But if we compare it to our country, the Philippines, I think the peak season for weddings is from December to May, if I
mm-hmm.
may say
That
so.
yeah, it is actually. So after the wedding, that's when Skatetaten will officially register the marriage in the Norwegian Civil Registry. So if one spouse from another country, they should check whether their home country requires additional steps to recognize their marriage internationally. So if they're going to be married here, they also have to check in their native country if it's valid, and they have to also comply with the other documentation for it to be valid there. And one last thing, TL Lorraine, it is equally important to take note that couples need to understand how the property, debts, and financial responsibilities work here. Is it um, the property ownership in marriage? Is any assets owned before marriage remain personal property?
Yeah, so
So,
then I think they should get a prenuptial agreement with
yes,
before getting married.
that is correct. So, the prenuptial agreement or etipak ponosh is a signed agreement that allows couples to decide how assets will be divided in case of divorce. So, it must be signed in front of an advocate or lawyer on that, and also notary to be valid. So, TL, having an open discussion, this is really important that you have an open discussion with your fiance or your partner in life, your partner to be in life, that um, you need to discuss this one to help also the conflict in the near future.
Yeah, when of course getting married is not also easy, and
Yeah.
I hope that after you get married you don't go into a situation that then you get a problem afterwards. So
Mm-hmm.
well, that pretty much covered marriage and weddings in Norway, APC Roxanne. So,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're planning a simple civil ceremony or a grand religious wedding, the most important thing is to prepare ahead of time to avoid delays, especially for international couples, as document verification may take longer. But what happens when a marriage doesn't work out? I think, well, that's a topic I will discuss next, which is divorce in Norway. This is a legal process and the impact on residency and finances in Norway. So, divorce in Norway, divorce laws are quite progressive actually here in Norway, and no specific reason is required to file for divorce. But there are several grounds preceding the process, and filing for divorce generally follows straightforward steps. For the general divorce process in Norway, first is to file a separation application. If a spouse does not wish to continue the marriage, they can apply for a legal separation. Take note that it takes either 1 year of separation if mutually agreed, or 2 year separation if one party objects. Then after which each either spouse can apply for a divorce or apply for a direct divorce after 2 years of separation. If spouses have lived apart for 2 years without formal separation, they can apply for direct divorce without needing prior approval from Stats for Valteren. So it takes some time also for this legal process for divorce here in Norway, same as in our country. But I think in our country is much more actually difficult, if I may say. Yeah. So either way, the couple has to undergo mediation before a separation or divorce if is granted, if they have children under 16 years old. Also important to note that foreign divorces must be legally recognized in Norway before being valid. This is important for immigrants who got divorced in their home country but now live in Norway. Applicants for all mentioned can be submitted online or through Stats for Valteren office. The process of getting a divorce in Norway varies depending on the marriage type. Civil and humanist weddings follow the same procedures, while religious weddings have their own rules. Let us start with civil and humanist marriages, breaking it down between Norwegians and foreign nationals. For the divorce for civil and humanist marriages in Norway, divorce follows the general grounds and process as stated earlier. So once approved, the county governor issues a divorce certificate, which is then registered with Skatteetaten. For foreign nationals married in Norway, the divorce must comply with both Norwegian law and potentially the laws of the individual's home country. If a foreign spouse wishes to remarry, they must check if their country requires extra documentation to confirm the divorce. If children are involved, custody agreements must comply with the Norwegian law, even if one parent moves abroad. Now, for religious marriages, it is a bit complex as there may be one or more institutions involved, but let us try to simplify it. The recognition of religious divorce is not automatically recognized by the Norwegian government. Sounds strange, but I think for some countries they recognize it, like in our country.
Yes.
Anyways, if a couple married through a religious ceremony, they must still go through the legal divorce process via the Stats for Valteren. Some religious groups, such as the Catholic Church, do not recognize civil divorce, meaning the couple may need an additional religious annulment to be considered unmarried within their faith. For Islamic divorce, a civil divorce in Norway does not automatically count as a religious divorce in Islam. Spouses may need to go through Sharia court procedures in their home country or consult an imam for religious approval. For Jewish divorce, a civil divorce does not dissolve a religious Jewish marriage unless a GET or religious divorce document is granted by a rabbinical court. So now let us see how these divorce rules impact the couples depending on their nationality and residency status here in Norway. Of course, the divorce rules and impacts based on nationality and residency status. First, if both spouses are Norwegian citizens. The divorce follows the standard process through Stats for Valteren. The divorce does not impact either spouse residency status or rights in Norway. If there are children involved, a formal child custody and financial support agreement must be arranged. If the marriage was religious, additional steps may be needed to finalize a religious divorce. Second, if one or both spouses are EU or EEA citizens, divorce follows Norwegian law, but if one spouse moves back to their home country, they should check if their home country automatically recognizes the Norwegian divorce. The EU or EEA spouse residency status is not automatically affected by the divorce, provided they still meet the residency requirements. For example, employment, study, or self sufficiency. If the EU or EEA spouse was dependent on their Norwegian spouse residency status, they must apply for an independent residence permit under EU or EEA rules. In simpler in simpler terms, if you're from the EU or EEA and can support yourself, you can continue staying in Norway after the divorce. But if your legal stay dependent entirely on your Norwegian spouse, you may need to prove financial self-sufficiency to remain in the country. So that's a bit difficult also if you are alone and you don't have any backup, sort of. So you need to have work, I think, to support yourself or sustain yourself here in Norway. And third, of course, and last, if one or both spouses are non-EU or EEA citizens. Take note of its impact on residency status. If the non-EU or EEA spouse has lived in Norway for less than 3 years, they may lose their residence permit after the divorce. If they have lived in Norway for 3 years or more, they may apply for an independent residence permit under special circumstances. If the non-EU or EEA spouse is the primary caregiver of children who are Norwegian citizens, they may be eligible for a parental residence permit. If the divorce is not recognized in the foreign spouse home country, they may need to go through a separate legal process to have it validated. So there are also important considerations for non-EU or EEA spouses. Like, for example, if the marriage was abusive, the non-EU or EEA spouse may apply for a residence permit for victims of domestic violence. If they are employed and meet the income threshold, they may apply for a work permit instead of a family-based permit. And if the spouse permit was based on family immigration, UDE will review their case before making a final decision on residency. This means that if you are a non-EU or EEA spouse, your legal stay in Norway could be at risk after a divorce. This is why understanding your residency rights is also essential when going through a divorce in Norway. However, there are exceptions and it's always best to contact UDE or seek legal advice to know your options. Now we can discuss also some special cases, immediate divorce without separation. Normally, couples must undergo a separation period between divorce, but there are exceptions where a spouse can demand an immediate divorce. Immediate divorce is granted if there's first domestic violence or severe abuse, where one spouse has physically or mentally abused the other. They can file for an immediate divorce without separation. Second, attempted murder or threat to life, where one spouse has tried to kill the other or has caused serious harm. The affected spouse can file for divorce directly. And the third is forced marriage. If the marriage was entered into under coercion or threats, the victimized spouse can apply for immediate divorce without mediation. Such proceedings must be instituted within 6 months after the spouse has escaped the forced circumstances and no later than 5 years after the marriage. Fourth, bigamy or fraudulent marriage, where one spouse was already married to another person at time of the marriage. The second marriage is automatically invalid and will be dissolved. In these extreme cases, the law recognizes the need for protection and allows immediate legal dissolution of the marriage. At this point, we've discussed the divorce process, its rules based on nationality and residency status, special cases for immediate divorce, and now we proceed to an equally important matter, and that is the financial and social impact of divorce. which is financial and social impact of divorce. This is, of course, the division of assets. By default, I mean, property gained during the marriage is split equally unless a prenuptial agreement or ektepak was made, and each spouse keeps their personal assets acquired before marriage. Spousal support or ektefele bidrag is rare and granted only in exceptional cases. Child support and custody. Parents are legally required to support their children financially. The child's best interests determine custody arrangements, which are handled through mediation. If one parent moves abroad, custody and child support agreements must be updated through legal channels to comply with Norwegian law. Impact on surnames and identification. If a spouse took the partner's last name, they can choose to keep it or legally revert to their original surname. Okay, so it's like too many things also to actually take note when applying or filing for not actually applying to but filing for a divorce. So it's not
Yeah.
really easy.
It is best that we also know of this kind of situation, the Eldarine. But yeah, we are not hoping for, if we are getting married, we are not supposed to aim for
Yeah.
this kind of situation. But we, it is best
So
that we know this kind of information. This is very informative so far.
yeah, so I think that for those who are thinking of getting married, I
Mm-hmm.
hope that getting married is not also easy.
Yep.
So if you get married, you have to have the right reasons for it, and you
Yep.
have to really choose, especially your partner if you're marrying a foreigner or something.
Yeah, it is a lifelong decision, and it's not just walk in the park. And but we are here just to present this information that we know of, so that we can also send help to the our co-Filipino, or the persons who might need to hear this kind of discussion that we are currently having right now. And also, thank you, Tia Lorraine, for that.
And
And TL, you're on mute, I think.
oh, sorry for that. What I meant was that getting married in Norway is like an advantage also for those who want to get married here, because civil weddings are free, and
Mm-hmm.
it's unlike in our country wherein whether it's civil or church wedding, it's costing a lot. At the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it becomes already a business thing.
Yeah,
If you know what
yeah,
I
it is.
mean.
Yeah, it is actually. But imagine you're getting married here, just a civil wedding. But when you get to visit the municipality here, most especially in Norway, in Oslo, it is very beautiful
Um,
there.
Okay, so maybe we can check out some comments from
Yep.
our audience. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, do we have any comments right now?
Oh yeah,
Okay, we
from
have
Ren's.
yeah, sorry. We have a question from Secretary Renz. She says that, does it mean that non-EU partner needs to get fiancé visa first and live in Norway with valid residence permit first? I think yes. The answer is yes. before you get married, you need to have a visit visa first, and then after during your visit visa, before it ends, you need to get married.
Yeah,
So
actually, yes, TL, that's correct. So you have to um have the fiancé permit, and then within the 6 months of your arrival here in Norway, you have to get married.
yeah.
From Amore, TL Amore, I appreciate this FHS DigiSeminar. This it is just like an hour of someone's cup education for me.
Yeah. Truly, yes, it's being self sufficient here in Norway. It's very important for you to be able to sustain yourself here in Norway. So, if you get married, you need to have your own, of course, financial, you need to take care of your financial aspects also.
Yes. And
So,
also,
so it's not just only getting married. For example, if you're thinking of getting married with a foreigner or a Norwegian citizen, you have to think of yourself also. So, du kan ikke vara avhängig av din partner, for example.
mm-hmm. and for secrets, I think it's cost the same for an expensive church wedding in the Philippines, 20,000 to 40,000 kroner. Yes, it is actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, as we have discussed a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Being a wedding planner for 22 years before
Mm-hmm.
living here in Norway, it has become a business. Sorry for saying that, but you know, um, it has become so quite expensive now to get married, unlike
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's why most of the international couples who wants to be married here choose to have a civil wedding, which is
Or get
totally free.
married abroad because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I think practical. They would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually. But you just please take note of the basic consideration or the requirements that you need to send before you get married. So yeah.
Yes. Also, and as this we have discussed about the marriage, the legal aspects of marriage and divorce in Norway,
Mhm.
we'd like to reiterate to our audience that we are just giving or discussing about the general informations about it. So, if they have any other questions or want some details regarding about the legalities or things like that on marriage and divorce, uh, probably we can just help them and give them informations on where they can get some help or the
Yes.
proper authorities or proper persons to talk to. So I think this discussion has been very insightful and very informative. Remember, help is always available. So here we are showing you on the screen right now where to get help or have an get some marriage and divorce assistance in case you need them. So if you know you are experiencing some difficulties, you may reach out to the authorities flash on the screen right now. Finally, we would like to thank our team for putting together today's DigiSeminar. Secretary Renz for the technical, PC Abby and TLM Moore for research and script, and of course to my lovely co-host APC Roxanne. Thank you for co-hosting today.
Thank you so much. That is my pleasure, TL Lorraine. So FHS is welcoming new members. So if you would like to be part of our community and access free Norwegian courses, please come and visit our website, which is www.fhsnorge.org, or message us on Facebook. Have a great weekend ahead.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. If you found this session useful, like and share this video and drop your suggestions in the comment section on what's topic we should discuss next. See you on our next Digi seminar and have a great weekend ahead. Good evening, everyone.
Evening. Go ahead.